Hello everybody! Welcome back to another grammar lesson with RK. To start with, here are two sentences for you. What do you observe in these sentences? Yes, the second sentence has fewer words than the first sentence. We can say that the second sentence is shorter. Are these sentences both correct? Are they the same? Yes, these two sentences are completely the same in meaning, but the number of words to express the same idea is different. Interesting, right? So let's talk more about this. Reduced clauses. We are going to learn specifically reduced adjective or relative clauses. How to reduce adjective clauses, when to reduce or when not to reduce them, and understand why we reduce adjective clauses. So watch the full video in order to master reduced adjective clauses and try the practice exercise given at the end of this lesson. First, we need to know what an adjective or relative clause is. The first sentence I gave you earlier has an adjective or relative clause. Who are watching this video? How do we know that this is a relative clause? A relative clause starts with a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. Words like that, which, who, whose, when, and so on. An adjective clause acts as an adjective. In this case, the relative clause that begins with the pronoun who modifies the noun the people, specifying which people the writer refers to. It is also important to remember that any clause should have a subject and a verb. Does who are watching this video have a subject and a verb? It does. To review some important grammar key points related to our lesson today, like dependent or subordinate clauses, independent or main clauses, complex sentences, their structures, forms, functions, uses, you may watch this video. It is fun learning complex sentences, dependent and independent clauses, or in some grammar books they call it subordinate and main clauses, but it is more fun learning reduced clauses. There are several ways on how to reduce an adjective or relative clause, but today we are going to have 3 of those several ways. The first way, if your adjective clause or your relative clause has this structure, relative pronoun followed by a be verb that is am, is, are, was, were, plus prepositional phrase. Let's take a look at this sentence. The tray that is on the table is full of fruits. Can you identify the adjective clause in this sentence? That is on the table. Very good. When you have this dependent clause structure, the relative pronoun is the subject of the clause followed by a be verb, and the be verb is followed by a prepositional phrase. All we have to do is omit or take out the relative pronoun and the verb. So from the tray that is on the table is full of fruits to the tray on the table is full of fruits. Now the second way. If your adjective clause or your relative clause has this structure, relative pronoun plus be verb plus the present or the past participle form of the verb plus the object. Example, the man who is swimming in the pool is my brother. In this type of structure, with relative pronoun as the subject in the adjective clause, followed by a be verb and the present or past participle form the verb, we also omit the relative pronoun and the be verb. That's it. We say, the man who is swimming in the pool is my brother. 2. The man swimming in the pool is my brother. Here's another sentence. We also remove the relative pronoun that and the be verb. We take it out and we have. Now let's move on to the third way, the last for today's lesson on how to reduce a relative or adjective clause. If your relative or adjective clause has this structure, relative pronoun plus verb 1 or verb 2, verb 1 is the present form, the verb, and verb 2 is the simple past form, the verb, followed by an object or modifier. Example, swimming is a sport that requires the use of the whole body to move through water. How do we reduce the adjective clause in this sentence? We simply remove the relative pronoun that and change requires, our verb 1, to the present participle form, the verb, requiring. So our sentence, swimming is a sport that requires the use of the whole body to move through water, becomes swimming is a sport requiring the use of the whole body to move through water. Those students whose names are on the list will go to Aya's Adventurer Camp. Can you identify the relative clause in this sentence? Whose names are on the list? Correct. Can we reduce this adjective clause? Yes or no? The answer is no. We cannot reduce adjective clauses that begin with a relative pronoun whose. Okay, so now that we know how to reduce, when to reduce, and when not to reduce an adjective or relative clause, let's answer some of your questions. Here's the first question. Why do we need to learn how to reduce adjective clauses? Here's another question. I hope you learned something today. In our next lesson, we are going to review what we have learned today, and I'm going to give you a test. For now, here's a practice exercise for you.